Hey, guess what? I just got the new B phone from Samsung. Beyonce made it.
Cool, so what are you going to do with your old phone?
I'll toss it.
This is essentially how e-waste is created.
E-waste is defined as discarded material, consisting of unwanted or broken electronic appliances.
As technology becomes better and more efficient, the growing number of obsolete machines becomes more of a problem.
Thus, the issue regarding e-waste is basically what to do with all of the obsolete CPUs and discarded cell phones that nobody wants.
This is especially an issue in the music industry, where 8-tracks, vinyl records, and CDs are being traded in for iPods and MP3s.
Other sources of e-waste include cell phones, outdated MP3 players, computers, and televisions.
Initially, e-waste was incinerated or dumped into landfills.
However, as the effects of e-waste began to take a noticeable toll on the environment, the Environmental Protection Agency instituted new standards for recycling and proper disposal of e-waste.
E-waste not only pollutes the environment, but it's often toxic. One example of that is the cathode ray tubes in old televisions.
Glass used to make the TV screens was found to contain lead, and the cathode ray tubes inside released toxic phosphors when dumped into landfills.
In fact, this scandal prompted the first EPA standards for e-waste disposal.
However, following EPA standards is often costly for businesses, so people responsible for following these guidelines have devised ways to avoid them.
In order to avoid EPA penalties, e-waste is frequently shipped to third world countries, mostly in Africa, labeled as charitable donations.
In fact, 75% of electronics shipped to Africa are already broken and unusable. This is a reciprocal relationship, though.
The exporters benefit because they don't have to deal with the broken, unusable electronics, and they get tax benefits from the supposed charitable donations.
The importers sell the small number of functioning electronics. They then strip the plastic casing off the broken electronics, particularly computers, and collect the gold and copper inside.
The discarded plastic then ends up in landfills and incinerators in third world countries.
Problem solved, right?
Unfortunately, we all have to breathe the same air, inhabit the same earth, so this solution isn't acceptable by most people's standards, including the EPA's, and solutions are still being sought.
So how big of a problem is e-waste?
When new cell phones, new music devices, and new electronics are created, the older, slower versions are discarded. For examples, iPods replace portable CD players, MP3 players, and iPhones are replacing some cell phones.
Thus, every time somebody buys a new electronic device, old ones usually end up discarded.
This has a major effect. In fact, the EPA states that in 2000 there were 4.6 million tons of e-waste in U.S. landfills.
So, to conclude, e-waste consists of discarded electronic devices in need of proper disposal.
E-waste is often disposed of improperly, and the governmental standards to set in place are easily circumvented.
Thus, e-waste continues to be a growing problem to the environment and, consequently, to society.